So like the question that we ask everyone, Hunter or Central Coast, if you had to pick?
Little known fact that I'm a horse person.
Oh, nice.
And I actually used to ride track work a bit when I was a young person.
I think you're winning.
I've got something to go with this.
However, I am a beach person,
See, there you go.
I will say. So I might just, say for the purposes of this.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dan and the Doctor, the third episode of Dan and the Doctor. And we are here with Zoe Daniels, and we'll be discussing everything from singing in the car, a bit of cold chisel, all the way to Venezuela and the Philippines. So thank you for coming on the show, Zoe.
Oh, thank you. I feel very privileged.
Privilege is a big word.
Yeah, it's a big. We're privileged to have you with us.
That's a generous word, I think.
Very, very generous word. And the first crossbencher we've had on this,
Yep.
and the first non-Labor member. So we're looking forward to really hearing a bit about you, Zoe.
Oh,
So first things first, you've lived a very amazing life. You've had some great things that you've done, and you were a foreign correspondent, which we find really cool because neither of us can spell correspondence. So tell us, what was that like? Tell us a bit about that.
Hectic, but yeah, no, look, I was really lucky with my journalism career. I was a foreign correspondent for about half of my 27-year career with the ABC, 3 different postings. The first one was Africa, so that was 48 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, then Southeast Asia, so 9 countries across Southeast Asia, initially in Cambodia and then Thailand. And then I was US Bureau Chief of the ABC, so I covered the election of Donald Trump and the Trump administration.
Yeah, right.
And so I've done everything from obviously global politics to civil unrest to conflict, refugee camps, natural disasters, plane crashes, terrorist attacks, mass shootings, the sort of full gamut of the ups and downs of humanity, actually. And there's a lot of things that I learnt through that process. Yeah.
What an amazing, amazing thing to be part of with you doing that. Can you pinpoint, is there one thing out of the whole lot of that time that sticks with you the most? I hope it's not Trump.
Well, Trump, I have to be honest, 4 years of covering Donald Trump kind of ended my journalism career. Once I got back from being US Bureau Chief, I was like, okay, I'm done with this.
Then you got into the Parliament.
Yeah, that's right.
That?
Well, because I was so concerned about fragmentation of democracy and trust and truth as a result of Trump. So that was a big motivator. But the biggest thing that sticks with me, it was a typhoon in the Philippines in 2013. At that time, it was the biggest ever storm in the world. It hit the central Philippines, and I landed in a city called Tacloban the next day, and it was a city of 200,000 people that had just been flattened. It's on a peninsula, so there was in effect a tsunami as a result of the storm surge, and thousands of people were killed. It was just an absolutely horrendous scene. And it affected me a lot, but it also was another motivator around climate policy that sort of, got me thinking a lot, really triggered a lot of thinking around policy change. And those sorts of things, of course, that it doesn't leave you, landing on a Philippines Air Force C-130 into, a disaster zone with people just shell-shocked, bodies everywhere, no food, no water, no communications, no electricity, and chaos, and a real breakdown of law and order too. Like, you start to realise the fragility of our systems. We were staying in one of the few houses that were still standing, and we had to keep moving because there were militias shooting each other in the streets to get food, and things can collapse very quickly in that kind of environment.
Yeah, full on, and and then, as you said, things like that never leave you. Yeah, seeing devastation like that. Yeah, so you would have done thousands of flights all over the world.
Yes.
And we hear little rumours around the place that you're not particularly fond of flying. So how does someone who is a foreign correspondent be scared of flying?
Yeah, it's a really weird thing, isn't it? Maybe it's just because I'm a bit of a control freak. And I sort of developed a fear of flying, in my early 20s, having been on a couple of rough flights. And then I realised that it was really going to inhibit what I wanted to do with my life. So I went and did a fear of flying course with Qantas, which helped. But then, I mean, since then, that particular trip into the Philippines, the Air Force cargo plane was going, and my cameraman and we had to get on it. We had a Filipino fixer who negotiated with the military for us to get on the plane. And they said, yeah, okay, fine, get on. And we had to stand up in the sort of hold of this C-130. They had a car, four-wheel drive, sitting on a pallet in the middle of the aircraft. And everyone was just standing while the plane was flying down to the disaster zone. And as we took off, the car started rolling down the aircraft, and the soldiers said, hold! And we all just held the car until the plane levelled out, and then off we went.
The team effort.
That kind of thing. But of course, like Sierra Leone, you know, Russian helicopters with wires hanging out everywhere and all those sorts of things. I mean, since that course, I've flown all over the world in absolutely ridiculous circumstances. South Sudan as well, doing that sort of spiral to land so you don't get shot out of the sky by the militant groups below. I mean, it was sort of like from one extreme to the other, but I think I got over it, basically. I had to.
You really had no choice.
Rarely am I struck for words and questions, but I am right now. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yes.
So on a slightly lighter note, so you've been to all these countries, all these continents, all these places. What's the most obscure food that you've ever eaten? We talk about tin chicken and prawn toast and Dan's inability to eat cake.
Yep.
What's like the most obscure food that you've eaten overseas?
Whale blubber in Alaska,
Really?
in the Arctic, actually.
I wouldn't have thought that was going to be the
No,
case.
not in a million years.
I mean, the other one that comes to mind is red ant soup in Thailand. It's actually quite nice.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it just the herbs and spices they
I
put
don't
in
know,
with it,
it's
or
like
was it the
just a
ants?
sort of a stock with ants floating around in it, but it's surprisingly tasty.
Spicy?
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit spicy, bit of chili, bit of Thai basil,
Yep.
a few ants. They're kind of
Nice.
We should
crunchy.
get amongst that.
Yeah, we
Dan.
should give
that
that a
sounds
go.
like that'll be we should film that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I
What
think so.
about the blubber? So was it nice?
So this was for a story that we did on the Trump administration wanting to drill for oil and gas in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in northern Alaska, which is this pristine area. And, you know, in keeping with my interest in climate, but also very good story. And the local people are allowed to hunt a limited number of whales, Indigenous people. And, you know, we did some filming with them and they introduced me to whale blubber. And I was I had to eat it on camera, of course, because that's the whole point.
Naturally.
Kind of tasted like Vegemite.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Kind of like Vegemite. Seriously.
So you didn't have a second piece? And Vegemite is delicious.
I love Vegemite.
You don't want to throw up when you're being filmed.
No. And is it like, what's the consistency? Is it like...
It's
is it like-
fermented.
It's fermented.
Because obviously, traditionally, you know, they would take the number of whales that they're allowed to in a season, 3 or 4 or whatever it is, and they would sort of ferment it and store it to get them through incredibly harsh winters. I mean, this is, unfortunately now, the permafrost is melting and, you know, the polar bears are scrabbling around on gravel because there's no sea ice. But the Indigenous people still do that. So they ferment the whale and then they store it and they eat it through the winter.
Yeah, nice. While we're on the topic of food, what is your favourite food?
Oh,
Please don't say fish like our previous
Gonna say burgers.
person.
I reckon fish is my favourite food.
But have you been any more boring with that? Fish.
Mate,
Yes, Dan.
Yes, previous guest. Sorry, previous guest.
Bacon.
That is the most versatile meat out of all meats.
You reckon?
Bacon is amazing.
I do love bacon.
You can do so much with it.
Bacon.
It's a
Everybody
breakfast,
loves
lunch,
bacon.
and dinner
Yeah.
food.
It really is.
Also to be eaten in the middle of the night out of the
That's
fridge.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
And
Oh, yeah.
it just lifts a dish. you
It
know?
does.
Throw a bit of
Dish
throw a bit of diced bacon in anything.
into the ants in the ant curry
soup,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, ant soup.
But you could have Brussels sprouts. You put bacon with it. It's good.
Exactly.
Brussels sprouts are delicious, then, aren't they?
Yeah, we fight over bacon in my house. My
good
kids
work.
love it too.
Yeah, right. You can hear your arteries hardening from here again.
Sorry, I do need to lose some weight.
No,
so I
you
need to
don't.
get off
No,
the bacon.
You look good. You're an elite athlete. You look
Everything
good.
in moderation, I say.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Moderation is key. And I struggle with moderation.
I hear you. Hear.
Yes, well, we exist in a sort of all or nothing environment here, don't we?
We do. We certainly do.
Yeah.
So we've just sort of brought up Parliament and things like that now. How did you get involved in this? So foreign correspondent, you said you're seeing how the world changed and you also spent time with Trump. How did you actually say, well, I want to go and do something about this?
So I got to that point in my career where I thought, well, I've done all these things and they should be useful to do something else. And after 27 years of doing that, and also, I mean, I was on call 24/7 for 15 years. So I could be out, having dinner or going for a run and I'd get a call saying, get on the plane now. It's not really sustainable, especially as you get older, and I've got teenage children now. So I decided to leave journalism. I wrote a book on Trump. I started my own company, actually largely training chief executives in communication, especially sort of crisis communication and having honesty in communication and having confidence in that. And then a friend of mine came to me and said, would you like to run as a independent for Goldstein? And I said, there's no way we can win that seat. Not a chance in hell. But let's talk to the community organisation that's organising this. It's just a grassroots group called Voices of Goldstein. And then they asked me to run and I said, no chance. No, can't win the seat. And also I'm not doing that. Politics is toxic and revolting, especially for women. But then they just persisted for about 3 months. Eventually I gave in.
Sounds like my nan.
Yeah. But also my kids. And so my son's now almost 17, but obviously this is a couple of years ago. He said, someone's got to do it for us. Someone's got to get in there and do it because, everything's going to hell, basically.
Yep.
So, yeah. And
good
then
stuff.
what happened,
Zoe Daniel stripping Goldstein from Liberal hands for the first time.
122 years of safe Liberal seat, never had a female member, and we won the
122
seat.
years.
That's
a long
That's
time.
a long time, yeah.
A long time. After this week, I feel 122 years old.
Yeah, I feel like I've aged about 100 years since the election, to be fair. But, yeah.
And the main question, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I do. I really enjoy it. It has some similarities to journalism. Having to sort of understand things quickly, respond to evolving circumstances, be able to sort of cut to the heart of an issue, ask the right questions, process information, listen to people, really actively engage with people. A lot of that's very similar. It's sort of the other side of the same coin in many ways. I'm sure both of you would agree that, it's full on. It is a 24/7 job, but that's fine. Yeah.
I like to call it a lifestyle. But there's not many jobs you do where you're generally trying to help people every day where you can make such a big difference in their lives. Yeah, and we can do that from our elected offices, from being in this building here as well. Like it is, I feel I'm so lucky to be here.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And, it's not as if you get up and go, oh, I've got to go to work today. It's not kind of like a normal job in that sense, because the main part of the job is going and talking to people and listening to people and interacting with people and giving them time, and then trying to translate those issues and needs into policy. And I think that for me and sort of us, the collective crossbench, it's also just been a really interesting exercise and learning curve. And I think for the major parties as well, because it's a bit different with a larger crossbench and a different kind of person, a group of professional women who are, and I think all of those women on the crossbench, including myself, we're genuinely there just to try to help and collaborate and make better policy. It's not combative. And I think that's been quite a process for the government too, to realise but if we're sitting down at a table, it's not transactional. It's just how can we make this better?
Yep.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Can only be good.
That's it. Can only be good.
Only be good. I lost my train of thought. You have to cut this, mate. I was literally about to roll into something else.
We've been down this path before where they're going to cut it, but they don't.
Then they don't. And they embarrass us in front of thousands of people.
Exactly
It's good.
right.
It's great.
We do that for the viewers.
For the viewers, yeah, they do love
that.
it.
Yes.
Now, have you been to the Hunter or the Central Coast?
Yes, I have. When I first started working for the ABC, I lived and worked in Kempsey,
Yep.
on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, and then Lismore.
Yeah.
So I've spent quite a lot of time working between Sydney and northern New South Wales for several years early in my career.
So, like the question that we ask everyone, Hunter or Central Coast, if you had to pick.
Well,
Obviously, the Central Coast is a beautiful place, beautiful beaches, pristine environment.
And the Hunter, may I say, best wines in the world here. Actually, have been told we have the best wines in the world, and won trophy saying that.
You keep
We have
saying that, Dan.
fantastic restaurants, golf courses, beautiful agriculture, some of the best horse studs in the world.
what an amazing local member
Like,
you are. It's such a
we
good
have
sell.
so much,
good,
and we
he's
have.
good,
What
he's
about the
good.
lake? We didn't even bring up the lake yet. biggest saltwater lake in the southern hemisphere. It is just a tourist mecca.
Well, so
Did you practice that in front of the mirror before we started this?
I am a beach person.
See, there you go.
I will say.
Oh, here we go.
However, little known fact that I'm also a horse person.
Oh, nice.
And I actually used to ride track work a bit when I was a young person.
I think you're winning.
I've got
this.
something to
You're
go with
winning
this.
So I might just, say, for the purposes of this, the Hunter.
We'll have a high five for that one. Thank you.
No.
The first
Zoe,
burn,
you're-
the first
You're
burn.
killing me. You're killing me.
And so let's get back to the track work. I have some questions around this. So you're a taller lady.
Yes, too tall for
So
that.
how did you go doing track
No,
work?
it's really challenging. Riding in a jockey pad at my height, I'm about 5'10", is really hard.
Yep.
Which is probably why I didn't, take it up as a career option.
Yes.
But I grew up
Foreign
in
correspondent,
Tasmania.
jockey.
Yeah, I grew up in Tasmania, and I had ponies and horses, and I used to 3-day events and show jump and all the rest of it. So that was the lifestyle that I had as a kid, and knew people who had racehorses, and we all mucked in. That was
Good.
That was life in the 70s and 80s. So it was a lot of fun.
Were you getting paid for your track work, or was it all?
No, I don't think I was. It was probably, should have called in the unions, shouldn't I?
Yeah, definitely get the union involved. That one They'll
Every
help you.
time. Union strong. God, last time I got on a horse, it was a Clydesdale. I'm sure its knees buckled.
Well, I don't go on them deliberately because I don't want the RSPCA to come to my house, so it'll cause some issues.
Yes, well, the views of horse racing now are quite different to what they were when I was growing up. But it was a good life growing up in Tassie with horses. And I think, I wonder whether our kids now are as resourceful as we were growing up in that kind of era. I mean, I used to get dropped off at the farm at 7:30 in the morning and picked up at 6:30 at night when it was dark. And it was like, well, if you fall off, you just get back on.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's different now, isn't it? And
Yeah.
what technology's caught up and things like that, and kids do things differently, and it's a different world. Like we, as parents, I know with my 8 and 10-year-old daughters, I wouldn't let them go out and do what I used to do. No way. I used to go out when the street lights, as long as I was home while the street lights were on, roughly.
Yeah.
I didn't always stick to it, but I was okay. So, but there's no way I'd let my daughters do that now.
No, well, I have my kids on Life 360, so I can see where they are.
The stalker.
Yeah, but I mean,
good.
actually, there's goods and bads about that, because sometimes you can see where they are and you're thinking, why are you there?
Do you do that, Dan?
No, I don't have that. So my girls don't have phones or anything just yet. So there's nothing.
Just an air tag
can't
on the
do that
backpack.
yet. That's right. And you don't have kids yet, so
No, not yet.
yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not responsible enough yet.
No.
Got to grow into it.
I still feel I'm not, but I have a very responsible wife, so that makes it much better. Thank you, Alex, for all the work you do with the girls and looking after me.
Now, the shoes, the colours. Tell me about that. Tell me about those shoes. They're fantastic.
Well, I think there's been a bit of a shoe revolution in Parliament for women.
So. Yeah.
Really, when you've got 4 minutes to get to the chamber when the bells ring, if you're in heels, that is very problematic, especially on the stairs.
Suboptimal.
Suboptimal. Yeah, so I haven't put on a pair of heels all week this week. I've just been running around in my rainbow runners. And I bought them for Victorian Pride March.
Yeah, right.
Good work.
Back, just after the election. So,
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
The ladies in the chamber, I feel, are very, very lucky because they get to dress differently, accessorise with so many different things, actually wear shoes and not boots or
Don't say
the
so short,
ones
Dan.
that
Look
we
at those
wear.
pants.
Yeah, I know. I try and bring it out in the suits. All we can accessorise with is our ties or our socks. There's not much else we've got, but you ladies can accessorise with so much. It's quite nice.
I'm told that actually the runners thing started with Tanya Plibersek when she had a ankle injury or something, and she started wearing runners in the chamber, and it's kind of gone from there.
No, that's fair enough. And there's some bling. There's some bling going around on the runners at the moment. There really is. They are some flash runners.
Or Tanya's shoes.
Yeah, Tanya's
The
shoes.
sequins
Yeah.
and that.
Oh yeah, very nice.
Yeah, Louise Miller-Frost, she's got the sparkly ones as
Yeah,
well.
Michelle and Andaraja,
Yeah.
she's got some pretty cool shoes too.
I do have another pair which are teal sparkles, and I just bring those out for special occasions.
Maybe you'll have to send us through a picture of those so we can just show the viewers. So your dad,
Yes.
football player, AFL player, the real game, may I say? Sorry, Gordon. But grew up in Melbourne, so I'm right in AFL too. Love the NRL as well, for all the NRL fans out there as well. But it is just your father played for Essendon.
He
How
did.
many games for Essendon?
100?
100. Spot on, finished on the ton.
Yes.
Good on him. Kicked quite a few goals as well.
He was a forward, and then he ended up at fullback in an era of incredible full forwards. So, it was a tough gig being a fullback in the sort of Jezelenko, Peter Hudson kind of era of VFL, AFL football. But yeah, I mean, look, I was born in Essendon Memorial Hospital. We lived in a flat at Windy Hill. Dad was a footy player, and I pretty much, apart from horse riding, I grew up in football change rooms or sort of sitting at the bar in the club while Dad was training, drinking, raspberry and lemonade and eating Samboy chips.
Nothing wrong with a raspberry lemonade. I do like a fire engine. That's good.
Yeah, but we love our footy in our family. Yeah, my kids are into it too now.
And does the whole family go for Essendon?
So my husband is a St Kilda supporter for his sins. And on my daughter's first birthday, the Saints were playing in the grand final. And I said, okay, if they win, you can have her. And of course, history will show that they didn't.
They didn't win. Yeah.
So 3 of us are Bombers and Daddy is the Saint.
Fair enough.
What are you doing?
I'm Western Bulldogs, so big
right.
fan of Western Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Was lucky enough to go to the grand final in 2016. And speaking of finals, Essendon has been a long time. So do you think they're going to make the final this year, or finals this year? Because they haven't won a finals game in 17 years.
I have little optimism left. I continue to pay my membership dutifully, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I can't figure it
enough.
out. It's very depressing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all right then. I won't judge too much on this. I'll be nice.
I can feel your judgment.
There's so many places I could go with this, but I'm not going to upset the fans.
Fair enough. And look, just a bit of a final note. Dan and I consider ourselves a bit of choir boys. We sing every now and then and have a bit of tunes. And we hear that you like to sing, Zoe. Is that right?
I am a terrible singer.
Right.
But on Monday mornings, and also my team and I, when we come up here, we come in on Sunday nights, and we tend to crank up the Aussie rock.
Yeah.
So Sunday night this week we had Hunters and Collectors, bit of Cold Chisel, Midnight Oil, or sometimes it's motivational tunes, because in this place you've got to like power up.
Yeah.
So my favourite running song is Sia Titanium. And sometimes Ange, my chief of staff, and I just crank that up on the speaker in the office and do a bit of a boogie.
Yeah, right.
Just on a Monday morning before
So
we
we've
hit the
we've
chamber.
got singing and dancing.
Good work.
We've got
That's
singing.
all right.
Why don't we do that, Dan?
Better
We should give that a
dancing
go.
than
We
singing.
should do that.
Yeah. We should do we could get in and do a bit of a collaboration together.
You can sing, I'll dance.
Oh, I'm not
It's
good.
like
I'm not
TikTok.
good. I'm not
to
good
see
at
that
any of
round
them,
the
to be
other way.
perfectly honest. Yeah. Not a good dancer, not a good singer, but I'll try. I'll put it out there and give it a go.
All right.
Yes, excellent. Well, Zoe, thank you very much for coming on. Do you have any questions for us? Anything you'd like to hear from us? Because Gordy here has a fascination of tin chicken, which makes me sick.
Ugh,
But
It's quick.
what
it's
even
easy.
is that?
yeah,
It's
exactly. What is it?
pre-cooked in a tin, and you can just open and eat it and get it done. Yeah. Good night shift food.
Right. No, I'll think of some questions, then I'll get you on my podcast.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
We'll flip it.
All right, sounds good. Sounds
Titanium
good.
intro music.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yes.
so much, Zoe. It's
Pleasure.
been fantastic to talk to you today, and we'll see you soon.
Righto.
And thank you for saying the hunter was best. And to all the listeners out there and the viewers that are watching this, you heard that. The hunter is best. We've had our first person tell us that, so let's keep working with that. Gordy?
Dan has a pathology, and I don't know what it is, but I'll see you all on the coast soon.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.